I wish I had a quick and easy plan, because a lot of people in my district are out of work or on unemployment and they're looking for jobs. But if there were a quick and easy plan, but believe me, someone would have solved it by now. The things that influence business most are an educated workforce, quality infrastructure like utilities and transportation, and the quality of life in a community. And those are things that we can support in the legislature and will have a good climate for business to develop. I also have hopes that the medical use of composites that have come out of the aircraft industry will be a big boon to this area as time goes on. That's still in the development stage. That is a serious question. The funding of education has gone down in the last 3 years because of the recession. We're not meeting what we promised from the Montour Court decision, and there's been a move by a number of legislators to shift the burden of school finance to the local property tax. I do not support that, because that brings us great inequities. Some areas are much richer than others and are willing to support their schools and can do so with a relatively small mill levy. But in poorer areas, economic areas, it would require a high mill levy, and still they wouldn't have enough money for equal education. And in this day and age, we can't afford to have anyone who's not well educated. And so that requires funding. And that's the biggest part of the state budget and the most important part of the state budget. And I would not support the shift to local property taxes for that. It just breeds inequality, and that doesn't work. Well, I've always been interested in politics, a political junkie from when I was in high school, listening to the Republican National Convention back in 1952, when the question was, were they going to nominate Bob Taft from Ohio or Dwight Eisenhower from Kansas? And I found that fascinating when those decisions were actually made there. And through most of my career and working life, I was a public school teacher, and most everything that happens in education is affected by a political decision at some level, whether it's the local school board, the state government, the feds. It's a political decision. So that's how I got somewhat interested in politics. When the opening came up in my district, I was glad to run for it. I hope to continue as long as the voters are willing. We have 2-year terms, and every 2 years it's up to the voters to decide whether I should return or not. But I hope to get more people involved in the process, because a government doesn't work unless citizens are involved. Well, I started to mention just a moment ago that citizen, I think, is the most important office that we have in the country. A republic or a democracy doesn't work unless citizens are involved and know what's going on. The low level of participation that we have countrywide really concerns me, because if people don't know what the issues are, they don't go to the polls, or they're influenced by a very brief soundbite and a lack of good information. I'm also concerned about the lack of civility that seems to be in politics a good deal now, particularly on the national level and in some of our cable news shows. It's just everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but facts are facts, and respect for each other, I think, is the basis of holding a civilized society together. And I see us losing some of that. That concerns me.